Next, let's pull out a door gizmo. From the Property panel, press Choose World, and you will be able to select from all of your published worlds, and even worlds that you're a collaborator on. This allows visitors to check out your other creations. You can even use the door gizmo to create a multi-part world or storyline. Under the Sounds tab, next to Gizmos, we have access to an assortment of sound effects, background noises, and music. These sound files will have similar properties to the sound recorder gizmo, with the main difference being music cannot have pitch shifted, but background and effects can. With the sound recorder, we can capture audio from our microphone and play it back in our world. Start by clicking Record. When you are done, click Stop. You can click Play to hear your recording. If you'd like it to play when the world starts, turn on Play on Start. If you'd like it to repeat, turn on the loop option. The volume can be set from 0 to 1, with 1 being the loudest. You can also adjust the pitch up or down, which will also change the playback speed. The global option makes it so everyone can hear. When global is off, I recommend you change the maximum distance. This is in meters and allows you to adjust at what distance the sound can be heard. Raycast Gizmos are used for detecting objects and players in a world that are in a direct line of sight from the Raycast. They can detect tagged objects and players, and return information like the hit position or whether or not anything was hit. Raycast distance allows you to determine how far away it can detect objects and players. Please note that unlike the trigger gizmo, a Raycast must be fired, and that information can be pulled from the gizmo until it's fired again. We will go into more depth on Raycasts in a later tutorial. In the next sections, we will learn to teleport players and get more functionality out of these awesome gizmos. Feel free to play around with the gizmos and join me when you're ready. I will see you there. One way to use a trail effect is to set it to play on start, then group it with an object like this wand. We can then make it grabbable, and then returning to preview mode, we can draw in the air. You may want to adjust the length and width settings. To do this, zoom in to the grabbable object and reopen the TRAILFX property panel. We can then zoom out and make adjustments. Hi, I'm Tanzer, and in this series you're going to learn about adding gizmos to your world. Prepare to add exciting, engaging new elements to your creations. If you haven't completed the Intro to Hand Tools series, I recommend you start there and learn many of the features we will be working with. Before we get started, open your Build menu, the recess button below your left thumbstick. Under Build, you will find the Gizmos tab. In this series, we will be learning how to use many of these powerful tools. Voice over IP allows you to change how the user's voice travels in a published version of your world. From the drop-down, there are several options. Default is the standard vocal experience you've likely experienced in most worlds, including the Plaza. Global makes it so everyone can hear you in the world, with a bit of direction. Nearby makes your voice behave more like a whisper, and Extended causes your voice to travel much further. Let's take a look at the TRAILFX gizmo. Under Properties, length determines the time that it takes for the tail to catch up with the gizmo after it stops moving. Width changes how wide the trail is in meters. You can even paint the trail by changing the start color and the end color. These numbers represent red, green, and blue, with 100 being red and 000 black. In the preset drop-down box, you can choose between Simple Trail and Tapered Trail. Simple has the same width along the entire trail, while Tapered becomes more narrow at the end. The trigger gizmo detects players by default and can be set to detect objects entering its area as well. Paired with the script gizmo, it can cause sound and effects to go off or even teleport players. To detect an object, type in the tag of the object you wish to check for. Please note that the trigger can only use one object tag. You can also disable the trigger so events don't happen by turning enabled off. Script gizmos are extremely powerful, and in the next part of this series, we will learn a few tricks to get you started. I'd highly encourage you to check out the Intro to Scripting series for a more comprehensive breakdown. The text gizmo allows you to communicate with visitors, write instructions, and can even be used as art. Clicking into the text field, you can type out what you'd like. Text can be painted like an object, but will always behave as an unlit and does not utilize textures. You can make the text invisible, though I recommend this feature be utilized by a script so that you can dynamically change the text visibility. PARTICLEFX have a lot of creative uses and are even more powerful with scripting, which we will cover later in the series. Like sounds, you can set it to play on start and even loop continuously. Starting us off, let's pull out the environment gizmo with our laser pointer. We will then open its properties panel by placing our pointer in the gizmo and pushing forward on our thumbstick. The lighting drop-down allows us to alter our world's atmosphere and changes the way objects look and feel. Fog density creates a transparent fog, making it harder to see objects in the distance, especially when fog density is increased. The grid can be turned off or on and is useful when you're first starting to build in a blank world. It is usually best to turn the grid off before publishing, unless you're using it as your floor. The text gizmo holds a lot of powerful functions, and I am so excited to share them with you. Bold, italic, underline, and even strike through are extremely powerful, especially when paired with their slash to end counterparts. Simply type them in and the effect will apply after pressing return. You will also want to try breaks. This simple trick allows you to create multiple lines of text. Put two together and you have double spacing. You can also align your text and even apply color. Using these tools, we can create far more interesting instructions and texts in our worlds. Another great way to use the trail effects is to add them to an animated object. From the script tab in our build menu, let's stop the world. Now that this firefly has stopped moving, we can open the properties panel, select the trail effect, and then zoom in. We have now brought the effect inside and can position it to create a trail. Don't forget to click once to let go of the effect, which allows us to leave it inside the firefly object as we click zoom out. We can then press play to see the effect in motion. For more on animated motion, check out the tutorial in Intro to Hand Tools. The spawn point can move a player from one place to another, which we will be covering in the next part of this series. By default, they are used to determine where players enter the world. When spawn on start is turned on, people will enter at this location. When multiple or no spawn points are set to spawn on start, a spawn point will be picked at random. If you want players to face in the spawn point's direction, make sure to leave set position only off. When turned on, their avatar will not be rotated. You can even use spawn gizmos to set the player's gravity and speed, which is in meters per second.